we're 4 minutes past 3, and we have a quorum. So I'd just like to welcome you all today to our virtual Infrastructure Committee meeting. I have one item agenda today, which is always exciting to discuss, though, and you may have some questions, and I hope that you've read the content today. I would ask, please, for an opening karakia and Councillor Stratford, if you may do the karakia today. Mihi.
Certainly. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E he aki ana o te atukura, he teo, he huka, he hauhu, te hei mauri ora. Ora.
Kia ora, Councillor Stratford. If there are any declaration of interest, please provide that as they arise. I'm not being informed of any conflicts. Are there any that anyone would like to raise at this stage? No, so that's fine, thank you. I didn't anticipate any. I will move on accordingly. No, today we don't have any deputations. And so we will move on to item 4.1, our only item on the agenda today, and I'm happy to move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder?
Did you do the apology?
No apologies. I haven't received any apologies in item 2. And has Kim, have any other elected members provided their apologies for today?
Yes, through the chair, we've had an apology from Councillor Rachel.
Councillor Rachel Smith. Thank you. I'm happy to move that.
I'll second.
And we do need to go through the item. Thank you, Councillor Stratford, for the seconder. So we'll just bring up our items there. Kim, you have to go through each person. So just to move the apologies. Mayor Carter.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Court.
I confirmed.
Councillor Collard.
Okay.
Is Councillor Radich here? No, he's not here. So Councillor Stratford. A seconder.
Yep.
She was a seconder. And Member Gardner.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Unanimous. So now we can move on to our one item, 4.1. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Court. Would you like to speak to the item, Mayor Court?
Mayor Court. Freudian slip. I will go with it. I understand that we are time constrained to get this done. So these are the TIF applications that the staff have previously worked on. I have spoken to Northland Inc. about expressing my concerns that the government has signalled priority to Mackenzie, Queenstown, Lakes, Fiordland and South Westland. I'm really uncomfortable with that approach from the Crown. I think the Tourism Infrastructure Fund needs to be fair and impartial to all applicants who put funding applications forward, and the needs in Northland are not diminished by the needs in the South Island. So I'm hoping that words of advocacy are put forward in our place when our funding applications are put forward. It may not be everybody's dream list, but it's the best list we could cobble together under no notice. I want to thank staff sincerely for responding so quickly to the opportunity, and I'm happy to support the projects that are identified, even if I don't actually understand what smart things are in Russell. Even though I've read it, I didn't really understand what they were, but I'm hoping someone else has got a really good handle on that one. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Cool. I can't see any hands raised. Maybe you can indicate? Oh, we've got Member Gardner. Thank you.
Okay, just a couple of comments. I really, in the lighting and the bins, but for the smart lighting, I just wanted to know how many lights that gives us for the money and how many bins, please. I was started counting the lights, but I kind of lost count in pie here. So if you can just let me know, please, if you've got a number there. Thank you.
Sorry, Andy Finch, would you like to answer that, or do you have a staff member on your behalf to answer the question?
Through the chair, we do have Blair here, who has pulled together the submissions and has done for the last couple of rounds. So perhaps Blair could comment on that.
Yep. Afternoon, everyone. Yeah, the Pie here and Russell Waterfronts, the actual number of lights will be finalised depending on the quality of the fibre that they can get in there. So the lights are a means to transport that public Wi-Fi network. So it's the safest way to put your node out of the way of vandals, if you like, and get it up there. So I'm anticipating we'll look at probably 3 to 4 lights in each area total, but the key will be that the primary node that delivers the Wi-Fi. So it's actually the means to deliver a Wi-Fi network.
Thank you.
Blair, did you have a feeling for the number of bins as well?
Hopefully it looks like they might have got a bit cheaper, so we might stretch that a bit further, but we're looking at 8 to 12, depending on what we finalise on solar versus the Wi-Fi. That's slightly different in pricing and structures. So we've got a bit of flexibility in how we approach that once we get the fixed pricings.
And did you want just to outline to elected members, and because we did hear today that they're unsure what smart is, so
Yep.
Could you just outline in simple terms what a smart lighting column is and a smart bin, please?
Yep. So the smart lighting column is effectively utilising a street light to contain the, if you like, your internet. So the network modules are in the light, which enables you to have a public Wi-Fi in that area. It also enables in the future, if you wish, you could put cameras, counting technology, air quality measures. So it opens up if you like, it gives us that foundation to start to step into the other technologies. The smart bins, there's 2 main types we're targeting. There's they have a automatic compactor, so they take 8 times the standard waste. And then the clever ones, when they get full, they will send a text message to the service provider to say, hey, we're 3/4 full, you better think about coming to empty us. And the solar versions can go away from the main, obviously from the main networks, and they can be out in the field with an option to put a cell card in there and do the same thing technology-wise. So it's a bit of a look at a way to improve the services and that rubbish control.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blair. We have Councillor Collard, and then Councillor
I'm
Strack.
impressed with smart bins and smart lights. Hopefully, I would know that they still need ordinary people to empty the bins. I would assume that smart means that the lights are going to turn themselves on. Yeah, bit beyond me. Got to stick my hand up and say that.
And now me next, is it, Madam Chair?
Thank you, Kelly. And we also have a question from Belinda Ward after Councillor Stratford as well. If you'd just like to look at the chat, Blair, if you could see that.
Okay, so I just wanted to, I understand that there was a short window, and I assume that there hasn't been any notification to the public. Seeing there's 6 applications when in previous years we've had somewhere, between 6 and 20 projects, and we had a ranking system that had to be used because there were so many. Could I just get a confirmation that we will go back to the ranking system on future TIF rounds?
Through the chair, I will probably need to revisit with Blair that ranking system, and perhaps I'll have a conversation and come back to you. But in principle, yes.
Because it gave us, a way between our wards, our communities, helped us address need not just on economic outputs, but also addressing our inequities across the district. And just further, Madam Chair, did we only receive these 6 applications?
So through the chair, you'll see from the list that we have piggybacked on the previous success of putting in a seal extension for a unsealed road. We were successful in one of the previous rounds, so we thought we'd chance our arm again this year for this round, which is an additional, which is one that we wasn't
throwing ourselves,
which wasn't being sort of rehearsed back in March 2020. The rest of the projects were generally on the books, with the exception of the toilets at Tipaki Stream, and Blair can talk a little bit more, but the local iwi have been pushing for facilities to be put in place before we encourage more tourists to visit the area, because that addresses the environmental concerns of tourists not having any facilities when they visit. So that project has slightly changed, and obviously the Lake Manified toilets are one that's been subject of many debates for a number of years to resolve. Long overdue, and I'm sure Councillor Smith would be fully supportive if she could be here of including that that project being in place. But the amount of, because of the restricted time scale to pull this together, it has out of necessity been a re-litigation of what we were looking to put forward back in March 2020 before COVID came on board, and the submission round was stopped. It did come as a surprise that come the 8th of April when we got the letter that it had been reopened, bearing in mind the amount of external funding that's been made available through other sources. But it looks as though the government and MV are looking to continue with TIF going forward. The one caveat that we have flagged, and it is a challenge for us in terms of financial accounting, is the fact that we do need to put a 50% local share in, and of course it becomes challenging identifying where we put that local share in terms of budgeting, and our finance colleagues probably have bent my ear around, well, how do we know where to put the budgets if we get it approved, and which ones are going to be successful? Because clearly if we put them all in and they're all successful, great. If we don't, then we've put a capital budget in the LTP that may or may not come to fruition, and therefore potentially I do start the year, if all these bids are not approved, with an underspend. without really trying. So it is a challenge for us in terms of financial accounting.
Yeah, it is. But it's projects that have been in community board strategic plans and community plans. So I totally support all of these projects, not products. But it's just making sure that we address the matrix that we used to have in place for when we do get way more than 6, because otherwise it's not just the accounting that we need to get clarity around. It's that prioritisation matrix really helped us to address which ones should be done when and where. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And through the chair, if I may, if I can add that part of the recommendation today is to seek some additional operational funding so that we can get ahead of the game in terms of preparing future bids, taking them through to community boards and infrastructure committee in advance of having to submit them, well in advance if we can. So part of the challenge is going to be putting 2 or 3 rounds of bids together in advance so that we're not running against tight timescales in future. So that's part of the proposal today, is to get us ahead of the game.
Thank you, Andy. I'm not sure if Blair can see the chat. There's been 2 questions there from Member Ward. Blair, can you respond to those, or would you like me to annotate the question? Blair?
Yeah, I'm not picking those questions up. Sorry. Yeah. So if you could please. Yeah.
Sorry. The question is, what is the size of the head of the lights? So we're talking about smart lights, please. And is this in keeping with the historic precinct? So it's in reference to Russell. And the second part of the question is also with maritime impact from the water with regard to, I'm guessing, light spill from the smart lights.
Yeah. So we're quite fortunate that Mackay Electrical, who are a Northern company, they pretty much led the way in this space, and they've done the Taipa bridge lighting, and they put a plan together for Kawakara, the car park there as well. So we've got the options to, nothing's fixed in stone as to what the design will be, and there are options. So all that will definitely be a consideration. We also do have the option, if the lighting isn't going to work in every place, to drop down to the bins themselves can carry the internet structure within them as well. They are potentially a bit more exposed to vandalism, but we do have that option. But there's multiple designs, and we have used these on the FNDC network before, so I think we've got the options to meet those needs.
Thank you, Blair. I had questions again about the smart lighting and and one more question of clarification about the size of the lights. So about the smart lighting, how many lights are we getting for that money? And why is it that only Paihia and Russell were selected for the smart bins and smart lighting? How come that wasn't rolled out across, for example, our Freedom camping sites for the district?
So this is our first, if you like, stretch into this technology. So the approach is to take a trial basis, and the strong cases where we have the RFSs and the data from the service issues with rubbish and Russell and Paihia over peak seasons, that we can build a strong case for MBIE. The intent is, if this works well, would be follow-up applications to roll it out. It is relatively new, and it's something that we've got good feedbacks from Taupo and Palmerston North councils. So it does seem to be working. We just need to prove it in our own backyard. And MBIE are very supportive of technology-based projects. They get a little bit frustrated feeling that they're the toilet fund. So there's an opportunity for us to leverage off their preference there as well. So consider that it's small steps for hopefully a bigger solution across the district.
Thank you. Sorry, the second part of that question was the size. I remember Ward was asking the size of the lighting for the smart lights, and also the question was about the cost per unit for the smart lighting and the smart bins.
So the size is about 5 or 6 varieties at the moment out there. So there's options across the whole size spectrum. They are actually quite a compact unit, and they're actually developing more models as we go. So we got, again, a wide range to choose from in that situation. And the intent is to bring those, consultate with the EFNDC streetlight managers as well before we look at any options to be selected. We've got get the funding, and then we can look at the detailed design through Mackay. So the number of the lights you're looking at, quite a difference between them. The key node lights are around 4.5 installed. So that's with your technology inside it, and the rest are your standard street light sizes. So a little will depend exactly on how strong we can get the Wi-Fi. So the wider spacing between the nodes means we can get more lighting for less. But the focus is on delivering the network infrastructure for the Wi-Fi. So if it's done well with the minimal number of lights, we could stop there, or if there's a desire for more lights, we can continue. So there's options in the planning.
Thank you. We can get the cost per unit offline if you don't have that offhand. That wasn't really detailed, but the reason that I bring that up is that the Awanui community has been requesting the smart lights with the Wi-Fi for some time, and one of our amazing staff members, Anna Mules, had sorted the smart lighting at Taipa, which is already a case study example for our district, and has been really well received. We've had lots of positive feedback about that, and I do know that Awanui will be disappointed hearing that another community has got that when they were anticipating this type of technology that council was working towards. So I will give them hope that this is in the pipeline for further funding streams as well. I do realise that we were given 2 weeks to put together this, so thank you, Blair, and to Andy for putting something forward in such a tight time frame. And I think that particularly the sealing of the Bailey Road, I think, is something that we really need to be, have done the prior work for. Those are the big ticket items that we really are costing the ratepayer for at the moment when it is tourism initiated. And as Councillor Stratford has said, when we had the priority list for elected members prior to the time, I think that's really what we need to be working on, so we're not as reactive, and elected members are more in tune about what's on the up and coming list. Thank you. Did you have a response to that, Andy or Sean?
I'd just say, if I could, that's noted, that we do want to get ahead of this. My congratulations to the staff as a no-notice response with a dust-off of some previously done work, and somehow in the mix they have come up with a reasonable spread. I do hear what you're saying about the Russell Paihia focus, but do note that there are 2 of the 6 projects are in Te Hiku, and they do come to not much less than a third of the bids, so there's reasonably good spread across the district. So well done to the staff, but I do accept the point you're making, Felicity. Thanks.
Thank you. If there's no more discussion, this is the only item, and we've moved and seconded. So that just brings to the vote, and it is by division as we are virtual today. John, our Mayor Carter, you first. John,
I'm in favour.
In favour, thank you. Deputy Mayor
I'm in favour. Can you hear me? I'm in favour.
Yes, Dawn, we've got your vote. Thank you. That's great.
I'm in favour. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Collard.
In favour, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor
Aye.
Stratford. In
Aye.
favour. Thank you. And Member Gardner.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent.
Linda,
Oh,
on your
unanimous
committee?
support. So unanimous support. We do have Member Ward here. I've been updated that on our committee she isn't registered as a voting member, which I'm surprised at. So I will get that addressed, and I'll ensure that we get that updated so that member Ward can have voting. Right. So that's the end of our long agenda, our one item. So we have our closing karakia today, and Councillor Stratford was to do our karakia if there's not anyone else that would like to do that for us today. Thank you, Ngā mihi, Councillor Stratford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, I think that it's appropriate that we acknowledge, I've just heard that the ex-president of LGNZ passed away today, Dave Cull.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Sorry. So all our aroha goes out to his whānau and everybody that knew him. That's a big part of our local government history, Dave Cull's tenure at LGNZ. Aroha mai. I'll say our karakia. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, te atawhai tō tātou ariki, o ihu karaiti me te aroha, me te atua, me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, amene. Kia ora.
Thanks, everyone.
Amene.
Thanks, everybody.
Councillor Stratford. And thank you. So with that, that's the close of our meeting today. And thank you for your words, Councillor Stratford. Our sympathies go out to his family. And
we will put together a message for the Mayor and Deputy to screen before we send it out, but we'll do that this afternoon, Deputy Mayor.
thank you. Thank you to our CEO for those words as well. So thank you for your time today. That concludes our meeting, and we have our meeting tomorrow in person. I thank you, Kim.
Workshop.
Yes, and thank you to our General Manager Andy Finch and his team, Blair, and Mr. Clamp for bringing that together in such a short time frame. Please pass on. Blair, if you're there, thank you for your work.
Thank you, Felicity. Appreciate the words, and I'm sure the staff do as well.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.